My name is Mark Wernham, and I am an author. I have to exploit every medium I can to promote myself. I need to become a brand and sell that brand in order to promote the book I've written. That's what writers have to do nowadays. I don't think this is what writers used to do. I don't think George Orwell or Kingsley Amis or Lawrence Durrell or Anthony Burgess or Kurt Vonnegut had to do this, but it's what we have to do now. And so I made this film. I'm going to post it on YouTube and put it on my MySpace page. You can embed it in your MySpace page if you like. You just copy and paste the code, it's easy. The novel I wrote is called Martin's on the Other Side. The title of the novel takes up quite a lot of space on the cover. When people ask me what the title of my novel is and I tell them, they often ask me to repeat it and look quizzically at me. It'll make sense once they've read it. I used to write for magazines. I wrote about pop stars for Melody Maker, which was once an important weekly music paper. It got closed down in 2001 after nearly 80 years. It survived World War II, but it couldn't survive the internet and a minor turn down in advertising revenue. Strangely, we referred to Melody Maker as MM, and while I was writing it, I often referred to the novel as MM. I'd already left Melody Maker when it was shut down. I'd left to start a magazine called Mondo. Mondo was shut down after about a year. Then I worked for all kinds of magazines. And while I was working for all these magazines, doing subbing shifts, making other people's words look like they'd been spelt properly and checking their facts and writing picture captions, I started writing Martin's on the Other Side. It started with a television psychic who I called Martin. He appeared on a television program called Spectre vs. Rector, which I named after a song by The Fall. And then Martin gets his own show, and while he's recording his show, he's possessed by the spirit of a dead soldier from World War II who is seeking revenge. And then there was a character called Jensen Interceptor. When I was a child, our next-door neighbour suddenly bought one of these. A car. I thought it looked like a spaceship, the curved glass of the rear window. My character, Jensen Interceptor, lives in the future. He is the product of his society, a swearing, drug-taking, ambitious and shallow young man, fresh out of college, with a penchant for kinky anonymous sex and pornography. He narrates the novel. At times, while I was writing, it felt like I was channeling the voice of Jensen. It was almost like he was telling me his story, dictating it. He talked in his own peculiar accent, with his own speech patterns, and he told me things about how he lived, about where he lived in South London, in a shiny, spank-new flat in
shiny, spank-new South London, with all fucking decent shit and nice lights and star fucks. He told me about a typical day in the interdepartment refectory, where everyone was in a right fucking tiz about security leaks. Everyone's all gibbering on about it, and there's a load of civil service drones and shit suits from the Ministry of Peace who are well under suspicion, and they're like all totally paranoid and blaming each other and shouting all the time, like giving it argy-bargy and chesting each other about in a refectory, calling each other cunts and that. The trouble is that all this is getting in the news and the headlines don't look good, which makes the Department of
Media and Culture, which is who I work for,
really fucking uptight. Me, I'm under my own, thinking about how things went totally monster the night before. I just received my first debt payment after a month working in the social studies section. My first job after graduating first class from Studies Under 16. A bunch of us from the old college all started on working on the same day, and so received our first DP on the same day too. Got together for a night on the fuck. We started the evening off at the Pepso Tavern, where we had 3 grams of Boris each before heading off to Starfucks.
My mate Theodore came too. I wasn't as bad as Theodore. He really can't take his Boris that well, and he ended up in the Roman room, and we all know
what goes on in there, yeah? Theodore's fucking
funny.
He doesn't say Starfucks, he says Tsarfucks. It's a Russian thing. Theodore's Russian, yeah? But like English too. I stuck to the main room for some hot action and some killer Boris. Fucking great. Anyway, to cut a long story short, I forgot to take any Anvil when I got home, which is why I feel so monged on this day. And all the shouting about who's doing the security leaks is doing my head proper in.
With all the row going on, I'm reminding myself that the job I've got is all right. I'm serving the community. If I stick at the department in 5 years, I can expect to be a team leader, and in 10, perhaps I'll be a governmental advisor in a D-Notice building.
Daddy big bollocks.
fucking great.
Working for any of the governmental departments is totally better than most jobs. For a start, your initial life debt is reduced by 5% immediately.
Mine is 994,000 because I got 70 years expectancy off the genome comparison scan.
And I know people who are in the same age as me who've gone into retail whose LD is well over the million mark.
I get $1,380 a month, but in 5 years that'll go up to $1,500.
And if I get to be a GA in the D notice, then it'll be 2,000. The way I work it out is that once I've got 10 years service under my belt, I'll only be another 34 years
Before my LD is paid off, and then I'm home and dry.
For now, though, I have a monthly allocation of 30 hours at the Pepso Tavern and 30 hours at Starbucks to keep
Me all funned up.
You get more stuff like that the longer you stay at the department. The older guys like
skateboards and getting all
Boozed and fighting, but us youngsters go for the Boris and all the other fun powders and pills and preparations and orgies. This is a typical day, so as usual it starts at about 7. I wake up and take a shower
straight away, my fucking
fucking neat dermo shower. You walk in and the water just comes
out. You don't have to set it or nothing. They clean themselves while you're at work too. I'd sorted myself a spank dermo shower as soon as they came out. Fucking
great. In the shower, I watch the waterproof screen I had put in with my dermo to see what's going on. Being a government employee, I get the full set of shows so I can pick and choose whatever I want. Fucking great. Sometimes I get a porn show full size in the shower, gets me off to a nice start.
a bit off-putting when the PM breaks in on the half hour, but that's what you get, I suppose. When the Prime Minister comes on, there's that little blast of music and his logo.
Then he just quickly runs through the latest business.
He's usually sat at his desk. Sometimes he talks about what's going on in the world and where we stand, but mostly he just cracks a funny. Once all he did was turn to the camera and wink, and you could see over his shoulder that he was watching a porn show.
It was the same one I was watching when he broke in.
Fucking funny.
I was well into the porn disco shows.
They've got a dance club in every time zone in the world with a dance floor made of glass. And under there, there's all these cameras. So you flick on porn disco
and you're looking up all the girls' skirts. They get in for free if
they don't wear knickers. It's always live, so you never know what you're going to get. But you can change the camera angle or switch to another camera. I'd watch that when I was in bed with the visuals in the ceiling. Feels like you're there, innit? Anyway, the job I'm doing this day is assisting in focus groups. We get tasks from the Special Media Research Unit and we go out in the community and ask some questions about what they're into and that.
We do a group every day in the morning, and when we write up the report in the afternoon, it gets sent off to the Special Media Research Unit. And then they know what sort of shows people want to see.
Which ones are working and which ones are crap.
We'd done porn shows, which was fucking great, what with it being my speciality and everything.
Food shows, all sorts.
Now you know all about me and my world
and the normal boring shit that goes on. Let's move on. Let's get into it.